Hi, how are you today? I'm Andy. I'm good, thanks. Thanks for asking. Appreciate it. I thought today, rather than just doing readings all the time, there'll be more readings very soon. I think it's important sometimes to kind of stop and think about, why we use cards, the way we use cards, what cards are all about, and how they become a mystical thing, because I am aware that a lot of people do watch these videos and these readings who aren't particularly mystically minded. The higher self is really the driving force between anything that you might consider spiritual and you might not consider it spiritual, I don't know. But certainly the idea that we all have a higher self is a very true thing. We're all kind of driven by mental images, I suppose you'd say. And a lot of those mental images are sort of locked in childhood. But it's not just childhood. All the time we're walking around the world, the mind is taking things in and it's filing them away. And some of them get filed away in the conscious mind where we think about it. Some of them get filed away in the subconscious mind. And of the stuff that goes into the subconscious mind, some of it we see again when we're dreaming. That's really kind of where the food and the inspiration for dreams really comes from, is the subconscious mind. I'm a great believer in the spiritual side of dreaming, by the way. I think they always mean something. But the images that we get shown in our dreams are somehow already locked into our mind, maybe our subconscious mind, maybe even the forefront of the brain, who knows. But this is it, anything that happens spiritually is something that means something to us in real life. And that's why some people really take the spiritual side of life to real extremes, And I suppose I'm one of them. I see the God angle in just about everything. I'm a great believer in angels, but, I'm not going to try and say that you should believe that. Whatever you believe, I support you, If you're watching my channel, you're supporting me, and I support you in whatever you do, for absolute certain. But, where did the tarot actually come from? Well, I've got a deck here. It's a real beautiful deck with all kind of silvery pictures in it. And it's a reproduction of a medieval deck from the year 15 something, goes right back. And in those days, as the tarot was beginning to... wow, spiritual stuff can get a bit overpowering, actually. I had some incense burning there. And I just had to make a quick cut in the video there and go and open a window, because I was burning some frankincense, which is wonderful stuff, smells great, and I believe it's got spiritual properties. Maybe you do too. But it just, it overpowered me, really. I was hoping that, it wouldn't, and it would be a great thing to have it burning while I was doing this video, but it didn't work out. So anyway, back to the origins of the tarot, where it all started. Ink and paint and paper, even back in the sort of 15th, 16th centuries, was, of course, either a very expensive thing to get hold of, or you had to make your own, which was a very time-consuming thing. People still make their own inks today. For example, you can make walnut ink using the kind of fleshy outside of walnut. Oh, it's still getting me, excuse me. Using the fleshy outside parts of walnuts, and you like boil the outsides of the walnuts up for ages and ages, and it takes hours, and then you kind of take all the solid stuff out of there and wring it out, and then you boil it again for many more hours, and you end up with this kind of ink which isn't all that dark in colour. And when I think about that, it's an enormous amount of work for people to produce inks and paints and things, or any kind of artist material. So what I'm talking about now is really aimed at rich people. That it was wealthy people, lords, kings, queens, who commissioned this kind of thing to begin with. And it all started really with little, not even books actually, but could have been put in book form, I suppose, but collections of small paintings, small drawings, which were meant to kind of stimulate the mind. That there'd be lots and lots of different pictures, and then there were fashions as to pictures there should be in the book or in the collection or whatever. And the people who commissioned these things, and they were all done very individually, the people who commissioned these things would take them out and look at them and just kind of look at an image that they'd had done for them, and they, you know, what does that image kind of mean? This one I've pulled out is actually, it's called the Emperor, and it's a forerunner of the Emperor in tarot. Anyway, so collections was what it was all about, and what I've got here is called the Mantegna Tarot. It's not strictly speaking the tarot, there are 50 cards, but this is when there started to be almost a formalised collection of pictures and images that were said to be what was good for people to contemplate as they went along. And there are far more than 50 cards here. There are 50 cards which have just kind of singular image on them like that. And then there's a load more which have all the same images, but they have two on each card. See if I can find one. Here's an example. This has got Rhetorica and Geometrica on the same card. Nothing on the back except, you know, the standard kind of back picture that's the same on all the cards. And so how did that start becoming a mystical thing? Well, it was gaming, really, that came into it. Not gaming as we know it now, sort of Minecraft and stuff, but gaming as it was in those days. And with the Mantegna, you're supposed to play, to really make it work, you're supposed to play this incredibly tricky game of solitaire, where you use all, excuse me, all 50 cards, and you play this game, and whichever cards you're left with at the end of the game are the ones that you read, and you read them in a particular way. And I must admit, I've never done it. I'm a big sort of card reading head, but I've never gone that far into it. It just seems insanely complicated to me. And so there we got the Mantegna, and I'll just show you a few cards. There's the Emperor that we saw there, Saturn here, and it linked into astrology, you know, so we're starting to see people attaching spiritual meanings to the stars and the galaxies and the different things going on. Euterpe here, playing her instrument and contemplating that ball on the ground, which looks rather like the moon, you know, and then we've got the significance of the colours coming into it as she's wearing a purple dress here. And I'm sure the originals weren't as beautifully silver as this in all cases. But even then, you know, even once it started becoming standardised, the wealthier people would commission a much more lavish, much more colourful, much more richly decorated deck. And the less well-off maybe would draw their own. And that still goes on to this day, you know. People still draw their own deck, and they only ever mean it to be one deck. I was involved in helping a friend of mine produce an oracle deck pretty much all this year, actually. We put a lot of time and effort into it, and she'd spent about 3 years beforehand gathering up the images for it. But unfortunately, it got very, very expensive, and it cost a lot of money anyway. And we had to more or less give up on it in the end, because we got a sample deck printed, and the artwork just, you know, it wasn't standing up. The pictures were pixelated. It didn't look really well. Out of 49 cards, 24 of them looked pretty much okay. You know, some of them, about maybe 7 or 8 of them were really brilliantly good. And the rest left a lot to be desired. So we just didn't go ahead with it. But she's still got that deck, and she still uses it, you know. It just wasn't up to a standard where she could sell it, you know. So we had to abandon the project, at least for the time being. And I'm sure we'll do some more of that as time goes on, actually. But the point is, she did actually come up with her own deck of cards, and she's a very experienced oracle card reader, angel practitioner, healer. She does all those things, and so those cards are very helpful for her. So if you're, you know, a bit artistic, or even if you're not a bit artistic and you'd like to design your own set of images to work with, that's a really great thing to do. And I might actually have a go at that myself. I sometimes get my pencils out and draw things, and sometimes they look kind of cosmic and significant to me. So maybe I'll do that sometime. But there we have the Mantegna, and it's through playing games with these things that it becomes like there's an element of chance, you know. And long before Isaac Newton and the laws of gravity and, modern science coming into the picture, people believed that, whatever you actually drew out of your deck or your pack of images was actually controlled by God and controlled by the divine. And that's when we start seeing the spiritual side of things coming into being. So then there's another kind of deck, and this is actually a very modern expression of it. This is Anne Stokes Legends Tarot, which we'll have a quick look at now. And this is actually a halfway house, really. I suppose the most original, most traditional deck that's on the market at the moment is the Ancient Tarot of Marseille, the Marseille Tarot. And there are very few actual pictures on it. Most things are kind of well, I suppose they are pictures, but, like, say the Six of Swords is just 6 swords, and they're arranged in a particular way in their own grid, which is very suggestive, but you absolutely have to learn the original meanings. And that was the first deck that I ever worked with way back in the 1980s, 34 years ago now. And this is a 2020 video, by the way, so that's how long I've been stuck into this. And I had to use the little guidebook that came with it, and I had to read other stuff to really get into the meanings of the cards because it wasn't obvious. And this deck is kind of a happy medium, really. There's things like this. Here's the Ten of Pentacles there, and we've got a definite image of the pentacle, and we've got the 10 little balls that are around it, and they've all got their meaning, and they do all add up to the 10 of Pentacles. We've also got a purple colour being used for the main colour here, showing the kind of the healing side of it, and also the grounding side of it, because it's pentacles and it's earth sign energy, But then if we go a bit further, let's have a look now. 3 of Wands here, and we've actually got some unicorns crossing their horns, and some crossed wands here as well. So that's, it's adding a bit to the meaning, just in quite a gentle way through pictures. But when we come to the major arcana, now we really start to see some amazing artwork, and this is where the Anne Stokes Legends deck, in fact all the Anne Stokes decks, and there are several of them I think, this is where they really start showing out their meaning. But even so, we've got some things that are common to all the cards. So we're now starting to see, actual art and actual images, and as it were, paintings and drawings showing through the meanings of the cards as time has gone on. But still, the mystical side of it is all in kind of how you shuffle them, what intent you have, because intent is absolutely everything in any kind of spiritual pursuit. So I'm going to pop these back in their box now so they don't fall over the place, which these things will, I'm afraid, from time to time. And let's not forget ordinary old playing cards. Just, the normal kind of playing cards deck. There are a lot of cartomancers, I think it's called cartomancy, isn't it? Who will just use the ordinary 52 card playing deck, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are traditional meanings spiritually associated with that, but as you know, you can also just play a game of cards with it with no conception of what any of the cards might mean or anything like that. And then we come to oracle decks, which are really a fabulous thing. This is quite an old deck. I've had it maybe 10, 11 years, something like that now. You can just about still get it. I bought a deck for a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and there were only kind of 6 of them left on Amazon, and it's a different box and everything, so the fashion's moved on and the times have changed. But the images on the cards are actually pretty much the same, except they haven't got a border. And here we're not looking at card numbers in particular. They do have a number in the accompanying book, so you can look at the numerology that way if you want to. But it's all about images and what do the different images suggest to you. And here's Hope, this is a real beautiful card. And these are very close to the original idea of the tarot, because these are by Tony Carmine Salerno, a male Tony, by the way, not a female one, working out of Blue Angel Galleries in Australia. And he is essentially a painting artist, and he doesn't set out to paint a deck, he just paints all the time. And every now and again, when he feels he's got a lot of images that he can pull out from the different images he's got in front of him that he's painted that are going to make a good deck, he will actually pull them out and make a deck out of them. That's how this deck came about. And there are other Tony Carmine Salerno decks which will include one or two of the same card images from other decks, you know. So he's really mixing and matching. And this is Ask an Angel. It's all based on angel lore here and everything. We've got some of the same kind of images we'd find. There's the five-pointed star there, which features so much in the Pentacles. So in that way, Tarot and Oracle are actually very close to each other. But they have different meanings, you know. Some people are a bit afraid of the Tarot. And I don't blame them. I went through a phase of that because it all becomes very magical. And it's very hard to know where the magic is coming from and sort of what it all means. And you can get some crazy dreams. Like I haven't brought out my Aleister Crowley Thoth deck today because I just don't enjoy the energy of the Thoth. You know, it doesn't sit well with me. So I don't do readings with it for myself or for anyone else unless they specifically ask for it. And it is a very accurate deck, the Thoth, just doesn't appeal to me. But here's the good old Rider-Waite. We'll have a few images from this, I think. There's the Four of Cups there. And Nine of Wands there. And, you know, this is actually very expressive. The Nine of Wands is all about you kind of got to make one last stand. Because this character here is absolutely exhausted. He's leaning on wand number 9. Got it planted in the earth and he's really absolutely exhausted. But he's got to keep going because there's something he cares deeply about and he can't just walk away from it. It's just not that simple. And that is shown through very clearly by the image. You really get that feeling from the image here. And just the fact that it's a wand card means that things are moving, things are still happening. So he can't take a rest yet. So very expressive. And whether it's major arcana or through the suits, the minor arcana, the Wands, Cups, Swords and Pentacles, every card actually has a picture drawn on it, which is going to mean something to someone. We've got Strength there. King of Wands, and in most decks there's some kind of picture when you get into the suit cards. I'm trying to find an in-between one here. Here's another one. Six of Pentacles. I keep bringing up Pentacles today, don't I? So hey, if you want to take this as a reading, Pentacles, get yourselves grounded. No two ways about it. But, you know, in the ancient Tarot of Marseille, there are just the 6 pentacles shown on it, and you have to work the rest of it out for yourself. Here, we can see the meaning, the almost Libran energy, actually, of the balance coming into things here, and things working out. And the 6 of numerology points to that as well. So, in modern decks, we've got a real blend of the ancient mysticism ideas that attach themselves to these cards. And it attached itself more than anything to the games played with these cards. And that's just mixed with the modern love of looking at pictures. And it's so much easier to look at pictures these days. Artists' materials are much, much cheaper. A packet of pencils is virtually nothing these days. And I think even if you want the amazing Blackwing pencil that Walt Disney used, and I think they drew The Simpsons with them as well. They cost about sort of $20, something like that. They're not a lot of money really, considering what they are and what you can do with them. You've got a vast choice of different kinds of paper you can use, and even if you just use cheap printer paper, economy printer paper, you can still actually get really good results with it in a way that just no one dreamed of in the 15th century. So we're that much better placed to have interesting art and interesting pictures on our cards. It's changed so much, and yet the energy behind it is the same thing really, but it's in the games of cards and the way they were laid out that the mysticism really came into doing card readings. And although, you know, the tarot was a big thing in my lifetime, at least long before people started getting into oracle cards, the oracle cards are actually right back with that 15th century idea of looking at artwork, looking at pictures that might mean something to you and would probably mean something different to everyone who looks at them and reads them. And that's the point, really, of getting individual readings. And even on a thing like YouTube, where I do readings for kind of 40 people, maybe 50 or 60 people, I think about 120 looked at one of my videos a couple of weeks ago about the big election. I did a reading for the election in the USA, the Biden-Trump election, you know. And large numbers of people look at it, but there are so many different readers on YouTube and actually all over the internet at the moment. You can go with the one that you're drawn to. So there's still something really quite individual about it. And that's where card readings, tarot, oracle, whatever, even the Mantegna, which strictly speaking is neither, but it's still a cartomancy deck, you know. Whichever way you want to go, you know, there's going to be something there that means something to you. And again, you know, you don't actually have to sort of believe in the God side of it, although I certainly do myself. I'm shameless in saying that. You don't have to believe in the God side of it. You might just see it as your higher self, but those images are setting something off. It might give you a creative dream. It might draw together some of the subconscious messages that you've taken in, and we're all taking those in all the time. Something about focusing on the image or on the number or on whatever it is the card actually says to you is going to have some kind of meaning. And so that really is how it all came together, and that's pretty much where we've ended up. Now then, let's see, let's have a look at some of the cards actually. I'm just going to do a quick 3-card spread here. Can't resist it. Now 3 is a very kind of magical number because being an odd number, you can't just kind of have like 2 things confirming something without there being another aspect to it. It takes you a bit deeper when there's an odd number. So let's just turn over the first 3 cards that I've got here, and hopefully they'll mean something to you today. I'm sure they will actually. This one's meaning something to me already. This is Paramahansa Yogananda, and this is the Ascended Masters deck. All these characters in this deck are people who actually lived a real life on the earth and then went to the other side to help us from the other side. The equivalent now, this is an old deck, Keepers, excuse me, Keepers of the Light by Kyle Gray from Hay House, has very similar images and meanings to this, just expressed rather differently. But choose peace, you know. Everything I've talked about today is full of choices. What kind of deck do you use? What do you believe about the deck? Do you believe anything about the deck? It's all up to you. And peace is a choice. Look at the purple colours in this card. Really kind of lavendery colour there. A purple of nature. And quite a light purple. It has the energy of lilac amethyst. And it's just choosing peace, you know. Letting the peace wash over you. And if there's no peace around, finding somewhere in your life and in your heart where there is actually peace. Next card backs that up a lot. Peace Offering. Here we go, and it's White Buffalo Calf Woman. So we've got all the Native American side of the wisdom going on here. Excuse me, that frankincense is still really getting to me. And so here's another aspect of peace, really, a slightly kind of darker purple here, but it's going that much more deeply. And we need to make an offering of peace, sometimes to people around us, and sometimes just to some aspect of our own situation, sometimes just to ourselves, really. But peace is a choice, and it is something we need to offer up as well. And when we do, there are magical results. Look at the light streaming in through the top of the image in this card. And the next one is Yoga, Babaji. So this is interesting because this kind of works on both levels of peace there. We've got the yoga of Paramahansa Yogananda, and we've also kind of got the peace offering side of things, because when you do yoga, or when you just, you know, you don't have to kind of learn all about it, when you just focus on that idea of yoga, like Babaji is doing here, with the hands in the praying position, showing that, you know, he's bringing his body in line with his mind. There again is what peace is about. There again is a very purple looking card. I must admit I didn't shuffle these actually, but I'm taking them all from the bottom of the deck, so it kind of goes from my last shuffle, and these aren't the last ones I brought out in readings. by the way. So these mean something, you know. I wonder what they mean to you. You know, get typing in the comments below. Tell me all about what you think about this, because I'm always interested in what you guys think. Speaking of what you guys think, do kind of give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Please hit subscribe and subscribe to the channel, because it really helps us go in places. I'll be back again with some more readings soon, but I hope I've given you some food for thought today. And like I said right at the beginning, whatever you believe about cards, I'm very happy to kind of support you in that. Somehow we're all drawn to each other in this crazy world. So if you found my channel for the first time today, please do hit that subscribe button and know that you are very, very welcome to join me. We all have spirit guides, and again, you might not see that as a God thing, but we're all drawn together somehow, you know, and we all ought to get on reasonably well, I think, if we've been drawn together in this way. So leave me a comment. We can share the journey, which is always good, and it helps our inner guidance, our spirit guides, whatever you want to think. It helps us kind of zero in on each other and know that we're all kind of a big soul family. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll be back again very soon with a reading just in its own right, you know, which is going to be a great thing. It always is. Okay, take care, friends. Love, light, and brightest blessings to all of you. Peace.